the Everything But Politics podcast.
Welcome back to the Everything But Politics podcast. My name is Merrick Leeser alongside my brother, Evan Leeser. And today we are joined by a businessman, investor, philanthropist, and really just a cool dude, Bobby Genovese. Bobby, welcome, brother. It's great to meet you.
Guys, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's our pleasure. How is it's fall in Toronto? How is it going up there?
Well, I literally just flew in. I just did 4 days in Napa Valley. I cannot
Lovely.
look at another bottle of wine for a week. But no, Toronto has been gorgeous the last 2 days I flew in.
Awesome. Well, Bobby, you've built some amazing businesses, have lived an extraordinary life, which is always the kind of people we love to speak with. So I want to jump back to your early entrepreneurial days. You know, being from Canada and being an entrepreneur, are those two things that go hand in hand, or were you kind of an outlier?
Outlier on steroids. Tough childhood, single mother, 2 older brothers. We had less than nothing. But our mother was amazing, and somehow she instilled this confidence, this work ethic. I'm not sure what it exactly was, but we were all multimillionaires in our 20s and all of our own businesses. And none of us would do a deal or buy a property without calling our mother first.
What was the secret sauce that she instilled in you and your siblings?
You know what? I wish I could put my finger on it, but the only thing that I can really attribute it to, because I've been in a room literally of lawyers, and I would excuse myself trying to get this deal done. And I tell them I was going to the restroom, and I would phone my mom and go, "Mom, they're trying to do this. I'm trying to do that. We can't get there." And then she'd go, "Well, why don't you just do it this way?" Fucking, I come back into the room, guys, while I was in the restroom, I was thinking, why don't we do it like this? Oh man, that's brilliant. Yeah, great idea. But she just had a gift of common sense. And I think both my brothers and I, literally coming from nothing, we had a lot of street smarts. We weren't exactly scholastically inclined, especially me. I mean, I didn't get grade 9. Grade 9's hard. But then, just put our street smarts to work, and here we are.
Looking for something new to listen to? Tired of the same old crap they feed us on the radio? Look no longer. Apollo Celine has got you covered. On Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, you name it. They've got tons of new music suited for you. Check it out.
So, Bobby, from the beginning, what was the ultimate decision to be an entrepreneur instead of going and getting a corporate job or just a regular job?
Well, I mean, come on, it wasn't a decision. I mean, who was going to hire me? I didn't have great
That's
jobs.
fair.
The only thing I really had going for me was a love of horses. And that was really a big, big part of my life. And then obviously, grade 9, it was roughly 16 years of age. I left to work in a barn. And then it doesn't take long to figure out that the people that have all of the money are the ones that own the horses. Us working in the barn, not so much. And that just sort of drove me to figure out an entrepreneurial way to make more money. And luckily I was able to make it happen.
Well, you've been in some really extraordinary rooms throughout your life, but being that 16-year-old who loved horses, what did that teach you in the power and proximity?
Well, it goes back to, our mother was almost obsessed with cleanliness. So the moment I got to the barn, I started to clean it. I had I lied about my age because I looked older than I was. So I had a staff of 2. And we just started at stall number 1 and cleaned it, fixed it, done it. By the time, within a month, we'd gone through the barn. We had everybody's attention. We knew what we were doing, and that gave me confidence. And then we were able to roll from there.
So being that young, ambitious hustler at 16, looking ahead in your teenage years, what was your first venture that you created?
I got lucky at the barn. There was a guy that was importing sweatshirts and T-shirts from China, and another girl's father had a screening company where he was putting prints on shirts and sweatshirts. And I thought, well, why don't I become the middle guy? And I said, like, would you give me a break if I were to give you this order to order this much stuff? And then I went over here and said, would you guys do this for free? And then I'll back it up because the screening really isn't costing you guys anything. And I ended up selling a line of, before you guys were born, Argyle, being a yuppie, was really, as preppy as you could be. So I started doing Argyle sweatshirts and then, matching rugby pants. And they started to sell out. And then my older brother had gotten into a company called New York Seltzer, which was sort of the Snapple of its day. And he said, like, why don't you see if you can sell some of this stuff in Toronto? And, I went into every bar, every restaurant, every convenience store. I put together a sales team, and all of a sudden, being 18, 19 years of age, there wasn't a bar or a restaurant I couldn't get in Toronto because I was the New York Seltzer guy.
Yeah.
So that led into my brother, who's 11 years older than I was, saying, look, I got a buddy of mine flying into Toronto. Can you look after him? So I met him, and he was, just an amazing, almost a savant entrepreneur. He's now a billionaire. And he goes, Bobby, you know what? You're unbelievable. You've got to come back to Vancouver, Canada, and work with me being a stockbroker. I go, stockbroker? I haven't got grade 9. I mean, how's that going to work? So he goes, you love to ski. We've got Whistler, we got Blackcomb. Why don't you come out and check it out? So again, I mean, I'm now in my early 20s, 21, 22, 23. I really hadn't done a lot of traveling other than in the back seat of the car driving to Florida. So I get out to Vancouver. I mean, guys, I'd never seen a mountain before, and it had snow on it. I thought, this is unbelievable. Long story longer, I get introduced to the Vancouver Stock Exchange. And for me, it was like playing a board game. And by the time I was 30, 32, I was finished and retired.
Wow.
So,
And
Bob,
I just,
that's amazing. I mean, what a story. When you look back at being at the right place, right time, is there a specific habit that those who are successful have than those who are not? Something you've identified?
look, I think it comes back to when I hear the word no in my brain, I don't think they understood the question. I mean, what do you mean no? How do we make this a yes? Let's figure it out, because no's not going to happen. And I think with that mentality, where a lot of my peers may have got discouraged, I looked at it more as a challenge. How are we going to get that account? How are we going to get that guy on side? And then I was just relentless.
Well, someone listening to this that does work in sales, and maybe they're getting better, but they're not where they want to be. When they receive those objections, right? They know now's not a good time. What were some of the counters you used in your early sales days that helped you get over the hump?
I just think maybe naively, a tremendous amount of self-confidence. If you're not knocking on doors, they're not going to open. So you've just got to put yourself in a position where, you may feel awkward, you may not want to do it, but, you've got to go in with the right attitude. And for me, also having a little bit of ADD as well as scholastically inclined,
Yep.
I played to my strengths, and my strengths were, I don't know if they'd like the deal or not, but I knew they'd like me. And if they liked me, then I could go back and say, okay, if you didn't like this deal, what kind of deal do you like? And let me come back to you with something like that.
Well, it's
Wonderful.
almost as if like what you're selling is secondary because you're selling yourself.
I think you never buy a business. You're buying the people, because without the people, the business is nothing. I mean, how many times have you seen an entrepreneur sell their company and it goes bankrupt 3 years later and he buys it back for pennies on the dollar. I mean, it
Yeah.
happens all the time because if you don't have the right people, forget about it.
No, Bobby, you're one of the first guests we've had that has really been involved with stocks and talking stocks. Someone who is interested in stocks, what are some like key tips and advice that our listeners should know?
Well, I mean, I learned 2 or 3 big lessons in my life. A, you can go work for your company downtown, whatever that is,
Yeah.
and you're going to make your salary. And if you do well, you may get a bonus. Great. Where's the upside? Where's it lead? Or you can do some research, find some junior public companies, try to get involved with those where you're going to negotiate a salary and options and hopefully be granted stock as a bonus. I mean, how many millionaires has Google created? How many millionaires did Yahoo create? I mean, Amazon. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. I mean, they didn't get rich working there. They got rich from all the stock options, everything else they got as being employees.
Yeah.
So
There's no
going
doubt.
back to being in my 20s, I think you really want to lean in that direction where you've got upside with whatever you're doing.
Totally.
Well, so how about let's give a real life example. A 28-year-old listening to this, he hasn't really begun or done any investing in the last decade, right? He's now 28. He's looking at 30 years old. He wants to begin his portfolio and get that going. Where should he begin?
Well, I mean, I don't know his financial position. I don't know where he is, what he's doing. You know, the only other advice, and I give it to my own son who's struggling a little bit. He's 23. He went out and got his real estate license because he wanted to get into real estate. And then we have a boat. So I said, well, why don't you get your boat broker's license? Because if we sell the boat, you can make the commission on that. And then he tried to open up his own business. And it's, you know, you've got to love what you're doing, much like you guys with your podcast. I mean, I'm sure you guys love talking to people, understanding what makes them tick, taking ideas. You've got to be passionate about what you're doing. I mean, I would get upset when we've got all of this momentum and then the weekend comes and everybody wants to go home. I go, are you out of your mind? I mean, what do you mean Saturday, Sunday off? Come on, it takes so much effort to get that momentum going. Ride that horse as hard as you can, keep that momentum going and love what you're doing.
Beautiful.
Totally.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned momentum because the hardest part of this show to this point was starting, right? Now we're 3 years in. When you started your fund, a BG Capital in 96, what were those early stages and the long nights? What did those look like for you?
Well, I mean, by the time I created BG Capital Group, I was already very, very wealthy. So
Okay.
my initial company was called the Investor Relations Group. And I tried to be the middleman between a company going public and it being public. So if you're a company going public, we all agree that you're worth $100. Okay. So that company is worth $100. We all agree on it. The next day it goes public and it goes to 500. What just happened in the 24 hours between yesterday and today, other than more people were aware of it, more people knew of it, people were buying on the expectations that they were going to make money and they were buying the future. What happens to those companies that go from $100 when they go public to $50? They don't have that same amount of exposure. So I thought if I could create the investor relations group and be the middleman to help tell that story, it's a win-win for me. So I would negotiate, as I just said to you guys, a salary. And then I'd say, look, your market cap is $100. Give me 10% options. So give me 10 options. And if I'm successful and your stock goes to $2 and I doubled your market cap, and if I made 10% for doing that, is it worth it? And they'd all go for sure. And then that's how I grew the investor relations group into a size that, we were probably 40, 50 people by the time I sold the company. And it was an incredible, we put together an incredible team of guys. I believe you got to have fun at work. So we would, every Wednesday afternoon, somebody in the office had to pick an activity and we would all have to go and do it. Or if somebody wouldn't do it, then we all had to work the rest of the day. So the peer pressure to get everybody involved was unbelievable. And that was from rollerblading to hiking a mountain to soccer games, but like whatever. We became the office that everybody wanted to come work for because we just had the best time and everybody was making money.
Well, I'm happy you mentioned that. How did you build such a culture?
Again, I just think, and I think a little bit like you guys, by doing this, you've got to have almost a magnetic personality.
Mm.
I think a one compliment that I get over and over again is, gosh, it was so great meeting you. Can we hang out more? What are you free? What are you doing next? Which sort of came into the tagline, who has more fun than us?
So good.
And that just,
So good.
and we do.
That's so good. And I would imagine as you're building that culture, as like that tagline comes to be, like that's such like a testament to the momentum that you built.
For sure.
Right?
I've got they call them Bobbyisms because I've got about 50 of them. Do you ever feel like you're always 100 million short? Doesn't matter how much
Yeah.
money you make that year, you're always 100 million short.
On the hunt for legendary wings, Buffalo's in Bloomington, Indiana, and Carmel, Indiana has you covered. Crowned top 10 wings in the nation by USA Today, our wings are a fan favorite. Dip into Mrs. Louie's famous sweet Q sauce for that sweet and tangy kick. Visit Buffalo's and wing it like a pro.
That's so good. So good. Well, here's a question for you then, Bobby. What is the most underrated sacrifice entrepreneurs need to make?
Underrated? I don't know, what does that mean, underrated?
Meaning that it's not like maybe preached or proclaimed in the mainstream.
Still don't get it.
So you see like on Instagram or TikTok, all like the entrepreneurial habits or hustle. What's one that isn't made? What's one that's not mainstream? One that you really have to sacrifice that no one talks about?
I don't think people understand the amount of energy that it takes to be on all the time. We're at one event, one function, one party, one dinner. It's fun for the first couple of nights, but after night 11, it gets a little, you wish you'd had a little bit of downtime.
Bobby, what do you do to keep that energy up? Are you you work out a lot? What do you do?
My whole life is, I don't have a job. I have a lifestyle.
I
We
love that.
incorporate everything around, let's go skiing, let's go biking, let's get on the horses, let's keep everybody moving. And, by doing activity, it's almost a Richard Branson type model who I've
Yeah.
been lucky enough to spend a lot of time with. Richard's philosophy is just knock the shit out of everybody where they're exhausted. And by the time they leave, it's the best holiday they've ever had. Get people to do things that they've never done.
What are some things that you still haven't done that you want to do?
Well, everybody wants me to go skydiving. There's no upside. It can only go wrong. So you know what? I'm taking that
Absolutely.
one out of my circle. The other one is diving with sharks. I no,
No
it can only
upside.
go wrong. Like what? Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't see the upside in any of those things.
I think that's a good way to view things, right? If you're gonna take a risk, like at least let there be a return. Those things have very little or zero return.
Yeah, great. You saw, I can look out the window and pretty well see the same thing of a plane. I don't need to jump out of it.
I get it. Well, while we're on the topic of risk, right, and having return, what's the greatest risk you've taken in business that ended up paying off the greatest?
The greatest risk. You know what? I'm when I do a deal, maybe good or bad, I'm all in. Like if I believe in it, and I'm selling it to my friends and my clients and my business associates, I'm all in. The risk, I've had one or two that went wrong, and you got to wear it, and it's not fun, and it hurts. And I lost about $100 million. I did.
Yeah.
Lost 104 million on a deal. That hurt.
Totally.
When you reflect on that pain and that loss, is there a lesson you learned from it that now you take
Ha-
with you?
Absolutely. I mean, guys, I don't care who you are. You lose $100 million. You look in the mirror, bawling your eyes out, thinking, how could I have been so stupid? And when you really look at it and you step back from it, other than absolute greed, there was no way I should have done that trade. I mean, it was the dumbest. And the only reason I did it was greed. It was absolutely stupid. And I think going forward now, I am a lot more self-measured in what I'm doing and how I'm doing. And maybe it was a lesson I needed because I'd been on such a roll for a long time. You begin to think you're invincible. And then and basically you get in the ring and you get knocked out. Maybe not so much.
When something like that happens, where do you pick up the pieces?
You know what? You really sit down, and I think Bill Ackerman did an interview where you just move ahead a little bit every day, put a list together, complete that list, knock it off, and you keep moving forward and forward and forward. And then luckily, I was able to bounce back.
So when you look at now what's going on with crypto and Bitcoin, is that something you're invested in?
I feel like a dinosaur,
Yeah.
I'm sort of a Warren Buffett kind of guy.
Yeah.
I just don't, I buy it. What do I do with it? I'm hoping somebody's going to pay more than I did for it. Would you buy? I mean, Buffett put it the best way. Would you buy $1 billion worth of farmland, or would you buy $1 billion worth of crypto? I mean, for me, how would you not take the farmland? You know it's going to produce. You know it's got value. It's it's there.
Yeah.
And Michael Saylor is a good buddy of mine from MicroStrategies. I mean, look what he's created. I missed the whole trade, and I still, am fascinated that I apologize to everybody that's watching, but I just don't get it.
I think it's fair. I mean, I think it's probably. I mean, you're more well versed than we are, but it's probably greatest to stick to what you know when investing.
Well, or believing in it. And like, if these guys believe in crypto, I think it's fantastic. I just don't get it.
What's your relationship like with AI?
I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. I can see where the generation that you guys are in now, I mean, it's just going to knock a lot of jobs out of the workforce. What's everybody going to do? I mean, I see these 23 to 30-year-olds. How do you guys create the lifestyles that we did? I mean, homes, polo teams, boats, jets. Like, how do you guys do it? And maybe there's an advantage to AI where you guys are a lot more fluent in that area than my generation. But I think it comes back to truly figuring out what you love to do, and if you love what you're doing, you're usually pretty successful at it.
Yep. And Bobby, we actually have a family chicken wing restaurant, and I was just at a seminar talking about AI in the restaurant industry, and it talked about how AI will take up 90 million jobs, but it will produce 170 million jobs, but it didn't necessarily define what those jobs will be. Right? You got to you got to know and learn AI to be valuable, I feel like, in the next 10 to 20 years.
I'm with you. Again, it's a little out of
Yeah.
my wheelhouse at this stage, but a lot of my staff obviously are using it, and I see students are now writing papers with it. I
Yeah.
mean, you can't
Yep.
make it up.
No.
No.
Well, Bobby, I'm 25, Evan's 24, and we have another brother, Ethan, who's 24. They're twins. So we're similar age to your kids. What do you tell them about this digital era that we're now in?
Well, as my own son, same age you guys are, and I'm trying to educate him that the stock world is really the only world that I know where you can go from 0 to 100 in a year, 2 years. All you need is that one set of options in a company that goes, grows 20-fold.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're up $500,000 to $1 million. Like, name another business where you can do that.
Yeah. There's not many, if
Even
any.
even real estate doesn't
Well,
compound
and
like
I've got
that.
a buddy, my daughter's boyfriend just got a degree from Columbia in New York in real estate. And, they want to pay him, 75 grand a year, and he's at the bottom of the ladder. And, how long is that going to take? And to what? You make 200 grand? I mean, it's just, but, everybody's got to follow their own path.
I totally understand and agree. Well, with that said, in the real estate world, how do you determine where to put your capital and what's worth investing in or what's not?
Like, I've always liked apartments. I had a large real estate portfolio. I eventually sold it off and invested the money into other things. But I think, my philosophy is you've always got to have your money working for you. And if you can buy something and it carries itself or pays for itself, and you get 10 of those, and then 20 of those, and then 30 of those, you're pretty well set for life. It's just getting the money together to get that first one going, and then being able to leverage off it, not to the point where you're putting yourself in a future problem, but at least you're growing.
Yeah.
And Bobby, speaking of growing your money, talk to us about like a private equity firm. For someone listening who isn't quite sure what a private equity firm does, how would you best describe it?
I'm not big on private equity firms because of the split.
That's fair.
And I'm sure these guys are a lot smarter than I am, but I've done quite well on my own. So, the only company that I've really come across that I like is a company based out of Atlanta called Bay Point Advisors. I think the minimum is about 250,000, but you put it in, it's almost a guaranteed, not almost, it basically is a guaranteed 11, 12% return on your dough. You let that compound and watch what that does over 5 to 10 years. So I'm encouraging my peer group, and a lot of the guys that I work with, to really look at that strategy. The guys that run it are first class, and I just can't say enough about the firm.
Wonderful.
Is buying a yacht a solid investment?
Slap me when this interview is over. It's the worst. That and horses, and I seem to be in both. Like, you can't make it up. But no. I mean, it was actually Paul Allen's old boat that I bought. Bill and Melinda Gates had their honeymoon on the boat. Paul had taken it around the world 3 times. I just finished taking it around the world. I've now had it for 11 years. It gives you an opportunity to see parts of the world that I swam with whale sharks in Indonesia. I walked with Komodo dragons at the Komodo Islands. My kids and I learned to surf in Bali. I mean, that the payoff is not an investment, but it was certainly an investment in the time with my kids and seeing the world.
That's beautiful. Well, How about like from a material standpoint? If I own a, let's say 50-foot yacht, right? Just for conversation's sake, what kind of maintenance expenses go into that on a monthly basis?
Well, you've got your marina charges. You're going to have to plug it in. You're probably looking at $6,000-7,000 a month, and then you've got to figure out: are you going to take the time to clean it yourself, or you're the one that's going to fix whatever goes wrong? I mean, it's just a stupid investment. I would never buy a yacht on my own again because you can only use it 3-4 months a year. I got 12 crew waiting 9 months a year for me to show up. I mean,
And
it's insane.
that's not even counting for gasoline either.
Nothing. Are you kidding? How about I gotta feed them every day? That's 75 meals a day I have to pay for, so that they're on there. Between 12 crew and 12 of my guests, that's 25 people, 24 times 3. And I'm paying for it. And that's not even booze or wine. I gotta get cheaper friends.
Well, with that, that's interesting. So what is owning a plane a solid investment?
No, there's another one. You know what? You guys must just beat me up after this meeting. I mean, I had my jet for probably 14, 15 years. I used it maybe twice a month. I'm paying 2 full-time pilots, call it $120,000 each a year. I've got the hangar costs. I've got gas, insurance. I mean, it just went on and on and on. I mean, that's why Netflix and all of these other jet companies were formed, because it makes no sense to pay people to do nothing waiting for you to show up.
Well, is there a point where you fly a certain amount where it becomes a good investment, or you're better off taking the NetJets wheels up route?
I'd go the NetJets rule. I think that's the simplest way to do it. For the 10 million you're going to spend buying a plane, you take 10 million at 10% interest. That's $1 million a year. Are you going to fly more than $1 million, and you still have your 10 million in the bank? I mean, that's, in hindsight, again, just stupid.
You're more
Bobby,
efficient that way.
after this call, you might be doging.
No, trust me, I've already started.
That's awesome. Well, Bobby, you've done a lot of extraordinary traveling, like you mentioned, with the whale sharks and Komodo. Has there been a certain trip or destination that really just trumped all the other ones? That was the one that changed your life?
Well, I get asked that all the time by all my whole peer group. I mean, where in the world, was the best? And, it's funny. I live in the Bahamas. I'm Canadian, so there's a huge tax advantage for me running everything out of the Bahamas, because there is no tax in the Bahamas. So understanding that, I don't know if you guys have ever been to the Exumas, which are part of the Bahamas, and it's as nice as anywhere I've been in the entire world. And it's a 2-hour boat ride from my door.
Well,
lovely.
No, you guys should really. I mean, everybody's seen the swimming with the pigs.
Yeah.
Well, that's part of the Exumas, but that's like a fraction. The Bahamas is 700 islands. So you get lost in those islands. It is spectacular.
And being right next door, where in South Florida do you spend your time?
So I have a horse ranch in Ocala.
Okay.
And so I'm there. My son is in Fort Lauderdale, and I belong to the yacht club there and the golf club there. So I'm there quite a bit.
Lovely.
My daughter is now at Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. And she's on the European Grand Prix jumping team over there. So she's bankrupting me with her horses over there. And, and that's it. And I've got a home here in Toronto. We've got a cottage here in Canada. We've got the boat. So we've certainly purged a lot of the other real estate holdings we've had. And we're just trying to simplify now.
And I know you love being on the move.
It's the best.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, how do you beat it?
Totally. Well,
and when you look like me, you need the props. I don't have this thing going on that you guys have got.
When did you become so involved in philanthropy?
You get to a point where you become wealthy, and you want to give back. You want to figure out how do I make the world a better place than where I came in? And then that started me thinking, am I better off to give $100,000 to an organization, or can I create an event like the car rally or the boat rally and take that $100,000, create an event that raises $1 million or $2 million? And that's basically how it started. And we've now raised, gosh, in excess of 24 million for Sick Kids Hospital here in Toronto.
Beautiful.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
Well, I think the logos we try to embody is that you do
Yeah.
have a lot of fun, make a lot of money, help a lot of people. I think that's the big three.
That's it.
Yeah,
Oh, and guys, it takes such little effort to make people happy. I don't
Totally.
understand these assholes that have this attitude that they're better than somebody else. I mean, you know what? It pays 10 times forward making somebody happy than making them feel like shit.
totally.
Well
Yeah,
said.
being selfless is actually extremely selfish.
Yeah,
Right?
true.
Helping others is one of the greatest feelings you get internally.
Truly.
So awesome. Bobby, this has been a lot of fun. I know you're extremely busy, but for you to take the time is a real treat. So thank you for
Yep.
joining our show.
No, you guys as well. Let me know when you're coming to the Bahamas, or let me know when you want to get on the boat, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely. Bobby, anyone listening that wants to stay connected with you, what you got going on, what's the best way to find you?
Well, they can go to 3 different ways. There's bgsignature.com. There's bobbygenovese.com. And then, or just shoot me an email at bobbygenovese@yahoo.com.
Bobby, appreciate you very much. And thank you for taking the time. A lot of
You
fun.
guys too. Have the
Thanks so
best
much.
day.
You too,
Awesome.
Bobby.
See you guys next Monday.
You too. Bye-bye.